Hello. EMBOAR is intended for readers who have finished reading Worm and are at least passably familiar with Worm's many fanworks. The fanworks talked about over the course of this show may well be spoiled during discussion, and if you're going to listen anyway, having ignored this warning, then who am I to stop you? Have fun!
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Etch and Misha's Bad Opinions and Reviews, also known as EMBOAR, your premier podcast on the internet talking about Worm fanfiction. This time, we're reporting from the fucking apocalypse. How are you today, Etch?
I am as okay as I can be within 3 weeks of confined to 3 rooms. Since we last recorded in December, the Elf episode should be out, unless I fucked something up.
Oh no.
That was recorded last December 31st.
Before the world ended.
Before the literal apocalypse. So if our tones of voices and everything seems different, it's because we basically had the 5 years later thing from Endgame, but in real life for EMBOAR.
All right.
So joining us today, one of the first authors I ever read, if not the first author I ever read in the Worm fandom, someone who I've been following first as a reader and then as a moderator and then eventually, hopefully, I think as a friend. We'd like to welcome with great honor Maroon_sweater, also known as Rune. How you doing?
I'm doing well, guys. How are you?
How is the apocalypse treating you?
Well, I am working as an essential person at Walmart, and I'm pretty sure I have come down with the plague and will die shortly.
Oof.
Well, let this be a good epitaph. What's it called?
Okay. I almost said eulogy, and I was like, that's not right.
This will be my eulogy. And yeah. I remember that I wanted to die.
Let's hope these jokes don't get really, really on the nose.
Let's hope this doesn't age horribly.
Depression jokes.
I was more the plague jokes, but
yeah, I was gonna say more just everyone
jokes.
dying. Yeah.
Yeah, you know how it is.
I wonder what the fuck April's gonna bring. Probably Yellowstone's gonna blow up any fucking second, I'm telling you guys. Anyways.
California's got earthquakes. It could be.
That's true. Alright,
we're gonna lose half the country.
Welcome to EMBOAR. Where we sometimes talk about
chaos.
Yep.
I
can start us off. I have been reading something. I've been reading Countess. Countess by Husser?
Husser.
Husser on
I don't know how it's
Spacebar.
pronounced, but I know how it's not pronounced, and it's Husser.
I don't know how it's pronounced, but anyways, this is a fanfic that is kind of like a very dramatic alternate universe. It's set in like the 18th century, and despite my better judgment, it's also set in 18th century France. Despite the fact that it's set in France and I have to listen to French things or look at French things, it's been a pretty fun read. It still follows Taylor, quote unquote, but it's not really Taylor because, you know, it's in France and it's in the 1800s. I've been enjoying,
but where it's justified.
Yeah, I'd say that. And I've been enjoying it, even though I haven't really gotten too far. How many chapters? 30 chapters out so far. I've only gotten like 10 chapters in. I'm not that far into it. I've just been enjoying trying to figure out who's who. Because some people are like mostly the same in this AU, but some people are like dramatically different. Like a big one is that Taylor works as a sailor, and then someone that's serving on her ship is Madison, except Madison is high-key a bitch. Like, more so than was in canon. She's still friends with Emma in this alternate universe. And, I think it's been a pretty fun ride. I think Husser says, like, this is inspired by the Count of Monte Cristo. I've never read Count of Monte Cristo, so I wouldn't know much about that part, but yeah, it's entertaining.
All right.
The
what have you been reading?
I actually have been reading The Countess as well. I love it. It does follow the Count of Monte Cristo's plot very closely. I don't think that's a bad thing, because it kind of gives me like a reference point for, okay, this is what this person is going to do. This is the role it's playing. I don't know how far you guys are along in it, so I don't really want to get into spoilers, but there is a reveal that happens when Taylor finally meets the priest figure, and I'm so stoked for that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not that far into it because I had really bad with it because I have such a short attention span.
Yeah, I think I'm like 10 or 12, maybe 15 chapters behind. I don't know. I feel like Husser updates every other day, and I know
impressive.
It's insane. And I know that I have like a bunch of chapters to catch up on.
It looks like weekly almost, or sometimes even not even weekly. Sometimes it's daily. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez, it's insane. I miss that output. I miss being able to have that output.
I've been reading Wire, but that's for later. And I've actually also been reading. This one barely counts. Kind of counts. I've been reading Companion Chronicles, which I only have good things to say about.
So does almost everyone that's talked to me about it.
It's so good. It's such a
Who shilled it to me? Colossal Mystic has shilled it to me. Lark has shilled it to me.
Lark was the one who introduced it to me.
Yeah.
She was like, it's a jump chain at Multicross SI. No, please don't run away.
Yeah, see,
that was the pitch I got.
I heard that and I was like, ah!
And I was really bored, and I'm like, okay, I like Lark as a human being. I'll listen to her, and boy, am I glad I did, because it's an excellent. I mean, okay, only part of it is Wormfic, but like so far, the biggest chunk of it was exploring Worm, and it's had a really significant impact on the main character and who she is, as well as like she keeps referencing like this character that I've just met reminds me of Victoria, or this character just reminds me of Taylor. So I still count it as Wormfic in my head, even though I know it's like
I think one of the
not
big
Wormfic anymore.
I think one of the big selling
Worm.
points. I think one of the big selling points that people have been telling me about this fic is that it's not from the perspective of the self-insert.
Yeah, no, it isn't.
It's from a side character.
It's a little bit of a spoiler to mention this, so I'm going to say pause this podcast, read Companion Chronicles, and then come back. But the main character is from like this mecha anime, like this generic like mecha anime, but her world is our world, and the insert Multicross was like decades before the plot actually kicks off, so she's still a teenager instead of like the badass like Dumbledore-esque figure that she becomes during the plot of the anime. And so she's just like a normal person, but there's all these people who have like this idea of who she is and who she's supposed to be. And it's like really, really great to see her like try and grasp with that concept of like, at one point Tattletale, as like a revenge for a prank where she sent Tattletale a copy of Worm, sent her a Cassandra Rollins body pillow from like the anime. And there's all these great moments where she's like realizing that these people know who she is more than she knows herself in a certain way, because she hasn't seen the anime and doesn't want to. And it's a really good twist on the formula of a jump chain that really makes the whole thing not feel like a grind and not feel gratuitous or like I don't want to use the word masturbatory, but it's not, because it isn't about her. It's about some other jerk off who isn't the main character at all. Like, that's who it's jerking off.
There's 400 chapters. I mean, 400,000 words all of this thing.
It's great. It's
That's
so good.
long.
I mean, it finished Worm. It's a completed Wormfic if you look at it that way.
It got
total...
to the ending of Worm and then just jumped.
Well, no, it's not that it got to the ending of Worm. It's that it's 10 years within each setting. It got to the ending emotionally of where it was supposed to be. Then it just did kind of like a time skip. Here's what happens in the next 10 years.
Okay.
And then they left Worm, and that was it. And it's basically completed Wormfic. Everyone has their own emotional arcs that complete and resolve.
Okay.
It's good. It's really, really good. I like it a lot. Anyway. I mean, it won Best SI. Anyway, speaking of the Cauldron Awards, I'm going to take a brief moment to say...
Oh, here we go.
I mentioned this in the Wild Bow episode, but that was recorded last November, and we haven't had a chance to record it ever since. So thank you guys for voting for us, because holy shit, we won by 69% of the vote, which is insane and also nice.
Nice.
So I'm incredibly honored. I know Mank is too, that we were able to have a following that cares about us.
That people care. That people care about the fact that we two assholes come on here every once in a while and drag someone else with us to talk about Worm fanfiction, and you guys listen to it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of asshole.
Speaking of the guest. No. The guest is not the asshole. We're the assholes.
Okay.
Are you
speaking
sure?
of the guest. Hey, I have to be courteous here because I am the host, so I can't call you an asshole.
Wow. Am I only the co-host? Is that how we're playing this?
Yes, exactly.
Is this where the line is drawn?
Exactly. You're the co-host. I can call you the asshole. I call you an asshole. Anyways, bring it back. Let's talk about our guest today. Let's talk about Maroon Sweater. Hi.
Hi.
I have a list of questions for you, but I'm going to start off with the one that is now a staple, and I ask everyone who comes on the show. Rune, how did you get into the Worm fandom? How did you hear about the story? How did you, decide that you want to stick around and actually create content in this fandom, basically?
I thought you were going to interview me, not ask me to publicly humiliate myself.
What?
I got into Worm because of Harry Potter and the Methods of Rationality.
Oh, that's right. Oh, I knew this.
That's not a super dark
That's not
past.
bad. That's not horrible.
There.
So, I read Worm in November of 2013, and I didn't really think much of it. I only really got into it in late 2015 when I was deployed in Kuwait. And there is not a lot to do in Kuwait aside from eat sand. So I got very into Worm, and then I started writing fanfiction almost immediately, but I didn't start publishing until late December 2016. And the reason I did that is because the stuff I wanted to read was not being written, with the exception of Agent of Cauldron. So
that's really funny you mentioned that, because that's actually I actually wrote that down as part of my notes. It's like you said that. You mentioned that you set about writing, you mentioned somewhere, I forget where, but you mentioned that you set about writing Worm fanfiction because, like you said, there was a lack of stuff that you wanted to read. So you just went, you know what? I know what I want, so I'm just gonna fucking write that shit and post it on the internet. So having said that, yeah, that is great. So what was I don't know how to phrase this properly. What was the thing that you want to see the most when you started posting or when you started writing?
Character studies and a lot of Cauldron. They're my favorite characters, all of them. Even the ones that have 0 lines. I really like the Clairvoyant. I think that's a very interesting power, and it's just not explored. Both Doormaker and Clairvoyant are kind of done dirty in canon just by being ignored for the most part. The Clairvoyant in particular is inconsistently characterized, inconsistently described, may change genders a couple of times. He's just the poor guy.
Just valid.
The poor guy. He's 9 years old in a 17-year-old's body, and he can't get a moment of rest. And I don't know. I feel sorry for him. And Doormaker too.
So what was it about the way these characters were in canon that made you really want to focus on them, or just made you so interested in them?
So
Because I know, like...
Go ahead.
Because I know, like, a lot of people, you know, when they got to the end of Worm, me included, just was all thinking about Taylor. You know?
Yeah.
Should be ashamed of that. Not really ashamed of it, just because that's just what happened. It's what I was. So, from what I understand, that, like, you took a very different path in terms of how you read through the story and how you, like the lens of how you digested this story. So, can you talk to us about that?
Yes, so I read Worm. It was kind of a slog. And what kept me going through it was Gregor's interlude. It's the first time a shadowy evil conspiracy is mentioned. And that's just like bait for me. You know, the Firefly, like the subplot of Firefly I cared about was River Tam and the Hands of Blue. And that's
I've never watched
really,
Firefly.
What? How old are you? Like, I feel like I have no friends who understand.
No. Okay.
Only 90s kids will get me.
No. So I actually know a lot of people who have watched Firefly, and like I know a lot of people who like recommend it to me. I have a really shit attention span. I can't watch TV.
Okay, fair enough.
If I turn on Netflix and I watch this thing on Netflix, I will consistently fast forward it. The only show recently that I really haven't done that is like The West Wing. And like that's like one show that I'm like, I want to hear every fucking word that's coming out of people's mouths in this show. But everything else, I'm just like, okay, I see where this scene is going and I'm bored, so can you hurry it up? And I just, every time someone recommends a TV show to me, that's what happens. I'm just like, I'll watch it, but I won't really watch it, if you know what I mean. So I just never did. I never did for Firefly.
Yeah, I just get weirdly anxious when watching like long form television or movies, or I don't know.
I think video games have ruined me. I think that's the thing.
I think that must be the case with me as well, because I will watch movies, TV shows, YouTube videos like 30 seconds at a time, and then like pause them, and then like come back to them like 10 or 15 minutes later and watch another 30 seconds.
Yeah, no, I get that too, and I don't know what the fuck is wrong with me. Maybe I need Ritalin. Who knows?
Ritalin doesn't help in that respect.
Oof.
Yeah, so River Tam is a girl who was kidnapped by the government, experimented on, and escaped. And she is amazingly excellent at pretty much everything. She's a genius. She can fight. But she's messed up in the head. And I think you can see, like, the parallels with Cauldron there. Like, all sorts of elements.
Yeah, a secret government producing basically what are weapons.
Yes. And
like, they have a hidden agenda, stuff like that.
Yes.
Okay.
And so, like, I was like, this is it. I'm interested in this. And then I think it was...
This is my life.
Yeah, the next time you actually meet Cauldron is in Legends Interlude. And he talks to... Wait, no, it's Batteries Interlude. Like, oh yeah, this is awesome. But then, I really like Batteries Interlude and how it's structured. And, like, the Faustian deal offered to Battery by Dr. Mother is just like, yes. Mm-hmm. This is, like, the perfect tragedy. And I want to know more about these people. Then Legends Interlude sealed the deal. Because that was, Alexandria was revealed, and Alexandria is awesome. And then there was a woman in a suit standing in the corner. I was like, that one. I like that one.
Oh, where's that meme? Where's that fucking meme where it's
pushing
like...
it away,
pushing the little dolls away? Some gremlin. That one. That's the one I like.
Yeah. And it's like, that's bait. And it's bait in a suit. And I'm here for this.
I feel like everyone has, like, that character for them in Worm, though. Because for me, for some fucking reason, it's Raymancer. I can't tell you why I like Raymancer so much, but I do like Raymancer that much. And it's sad that all he did was show up.
And die.
And he shows up, dies, and Taylor takes his job, and that's it. That's all he gets to do.
Oh, that's so sad. It's like Juff and Goggles.
Yeah, it is like Juff and Goggles.
Is, but Yeah,
Goggles is some Boston ward who shows up in the Boston chapter, and he just conveniently has all the stuff that Taylor needed to make the kids play Weaver dice. Like, she was just like, I need a pencil, and he just pulls a pencil out of nowhere, and she's like, I need some paper, and he just pulls some paper out of nowhere, and she's like, I need some dice, and he just pulls a fucking handful of D20s out of nowhere.
You know, I'm not going to say how I don't carry my dice around anymore, but I definitely used to do that.
Just carry out.
Yeah. I used to carry them around in my backpack.
Oh, well, in your backpack's different. If you were to just, like, holding them in your hand, like a little sack you swing around, like, walking around the block.
Just beating kids with sackfuls of dice.
Maybe Goggles' power is nerd hammer space.
No, that's what Jeff was saying.
Oh
Jeff was like, I really hope Goggles' power is that he's just always equipped to play D&D, always. And like he just has a hammer space with nerd shit.
Nice.
Okay, so let's move on. Let's talk
yeah.
about stuff that you've written. And let's talk about, I think this is your earliest published work. Let's talk about Loaf.
Loaf?
Yes,
Loaf.
that is the first fanfic that I wrote. And it took me,
the second fanfic I ever read.
Yeah. You read Tabloid first.
I read the first.
Correct?
Yes.
Yeah, Tabloid is great.
It was that or Tabloid. I don't remember which one I read first. Maybe both at the same time.
I know which one I read first. It was Copacetic. I feel like...
yeah,
me too.
Mine was Cenotaph.
Cenotaph?
Yeah, that was another thing, too. Cenotaph, like, is hailed as, like, the definitive
I never got through it.
To Taylor's character fic, and I do not agree with that. But...
Isn't that supposed to be a Cloudy Path?
Was Cenotaph the one where her cape name was Taylor?
Yes, and so...
Yeah, with an I.
Bakuda...
And then Bakuda bombs her house?
Yes.
Killed her dad?
Yeah.
And that's like...
And it was supposed to be implied that it was a result of her waiting, but that's like... it's like choosing to have milk instead of orange juice, and then, like, it rains outside and it wouldn't have. Like, it's not related.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
I never got into Cenotaph, so
I was able to accept the premise, because the premise was obviously kill Danny, right? Whatever.
Yeah.
Who cares? Danny can fall off a bridge for all the fic. He just needs to get out of the way.
Oi.
And so that's why.
No,
so I was
will
able to overlook that. But I don't know.
I wasn't able to. I got to that part, and I got to, like, I think right after it, where, like, I think she, like, escapes somewhere, and it was a premise that I really couldn't buy into, so I could never get into Cenotaph. And it's like one of those like I want to say fandom monoliths almost, or like a fandom keystone, where it's just like a lot of people orient themselves around notes and around that fic in some way. And I think the other one was what is Ceruleans? I don't remember. I see it brought up a lot.
Yeah.
Intrepid was the other one. Like, yeah, a lot of people, like, orient themselves around these, like, really long and really old fics, and it's just, I don't think I've ever read too many of them. But let us go back to Loaf, because I want to talk about Loaf.
Loaf is a masterpiece.
Mostly, I think you answered. Oh, damn! All the questions I wrote down, you answered earlier when talking about Cauldron, because I wanted to ask about, like, you know, what was the impetus behind the creation of Loaf, and it's just why focus on Contessa. You basically answered that for us. So
it was a Reddit comment, actually. There's Worm 2 is just Taylor having a perfectly normal life, and in the background there are interludes with Contessa failing miserably to bake a loaf of bread in a way that resolves every outstanding worm.
every outstanding worm.
And so, like, I made, like, a list. Teacher...
That's amazing. I didn't know this came from a comment.
Yeah, Kolopti, something like that. He made a joke on our parahumans that was like, you know what? I can work with this. I can work with humor, and I can work with Contessa, and I'll make it short.
And that's
and
that,
then it
in
took
my
me
opinion.
like 6 months to write.
But it could have
But it's
taken
good.
It could take 6 months, but it's 38,000 words. It is concise, and there's like it is complete.
killer.
It's fucking hilarious.
It's killer.
It's fucking hilarious. So I mean I think that's something a lot of people. I feel like I've addressed this before, but I feel like a lot of authors in Worm feel like because Worm was like 1.5 million words, they need to also pen their epic. Like they also need to like make the couple 100,000 word fic, and like they might not even really have a direction for it, but they'll keep going because gotta get those words down. And I feel like that really comes as a detriment to a lot of people. Like a lot of people, I know for me, when I started writing Wormfic, I was like, oh no, I need to write something that's long. And then it was as I was writing that, I was like, wait a second, no, I don't fucking need to do that. I don't need to do jack shit. I can tell my story within the limits of however I want to, within the word limit however I want to. I don't need to like write a couple 100,000 words. There's not a point to prove when you do such a thing, you know?
Yeah, I actually think that is a fairly damning condemnation of our fandom, that we don't really go in for one-shots or like sub 50k fics for the most part. It's always, and I think like I'm not making this up, because so often you'll see comments like, oh, it never makes it past the Leviathan fight. Like, why? What do you mean?
Is that the metric?
Like, it's just,
There's like a
where's the end of the fic? What starts it? What's in the middle? And how are those things resolved? That's it. That's what the plot is called.
It's Sion.
Oh.
we gotta get to. Okay, let's.
All right, let's go somewhere else in this conversation.
Let's not do that. We've had that conversation so many times. I've had that conversation way too many times. So okay, let's just conclude on Loaf then. Really short, really sweet, and it's fucking killer. Fucking killer.
I only like okay, so Sheep, the awesome person who wrote Tabloid, ripped it apart, like really nicely, but ripped it apart, and now I'm just like, I only see like how terrible it is. But instead of rewriting it, I'm just moved on to Felix Fortuna, because it's the same thing, but so much nicer and kinder and sweeter and softer, because Chartic is at the heart of it. So
I feel like, I don't know, this sounds kind of mean. I feel like rewriting fan fiction isn't worth it.
no, it probably isn't.
Because it's like, I can't really put it into words.
No, continue, Mike. I have a different thought altogether.
Okay, because I can't really put it into words. It's just but I feel like the effort that I would need to put into redoing it, despite me wanting to rewrite a lot of my stuff, I feel like the effort I put in would not be worth like whatever is at the other end of it. I feel like it's much better and like a much better use of my time and effort and energy to put it into improving myself for the next story and the one after that and the one after that. And that's my thought on rewriting.
Yeah, I think that's ultimately the right choice.
I do like the idea of Felix Fortuna, birthed from the heart of the ashes that was
Loaf.
Whatever attempt of a Loaf rewrite, because there is a lot of the same like spirit, but I think Felix Fortuna, and I do have to say, is better in every single way.
Yeah, it is.
Maybe like the adult level of the jokes is toned down. Like we're not gonna get like a joke where Contessa confuses cocaine for flour again.
Oh, probably not.
Darn. we'll save that for year 6. We'll save that for year 6.
All right.
But I do think that's a good way to keep the spirit of the fic.
Yeah.
But there was another attempt at keeping the spirit of the fic, which is a pseudo sequel to Loaf.
Ah, yes.
Meg?
Case. So Case is about the Seaborg and Tattletale starting a detective agency. And I don't remember when I first found Case. I think it was during my binge of the subreddit index. I just read everything on that thing. And I came across Case and I was like, this is the kind of fucking humor that I need after... I think this was like after I read some of ACP. This was after I read like a bunch of quote unquote like closer to canon feel kind of fics. And I got to Case and I was like, this shit is funny. It's lighthearted. And even though it's literally like an eldritch abomination asking Lisa to like do shit with her, I don't feel like something bad's going to happen. It doesn't feel that way. And it just feels like this is genuinely just going to be happy, fun time adventures. And I really like that.
And for 11K words, it was.
Exactly. And I don't need like, I don't really need like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of words to like keep me entertained, because I don't have time for that anymore. But
Cry.
It's supposed to
what's
be...
there is good.
It's supposed to be about roughly the length of Loaf. My problem with it is that I had an outline for it, and I just hate it. So,
Oof.
I ended up scrapping the plot, what was going to be the plot, and I decided to do a Take That, You Worm to Ward. And I have an idea of where I'm going to go with that. And I definitely have an idea of what the ending is. So I think I'm about 75% done with the next chapter, but I've been 75% done with the next chapter for literal months.
Mood, though.
Yeah.
Fucking mood.
I think I've made negative process on potions and parahumans.
No, don't say that.
Like, to the point where I'm like, considering rewriting the whole thing and just starting over.
That's
Wait
funny
a
because
second.
I'm considering rewriting the next chapter if I need some space, because I really don't like it as well. Anyways, back to Case.
Yep.
I really had nothing other than praise for this fic. So I do want to know, it's like, you as a writer tend to err on a very dry sense of humor, and I feel like that's like very prevalent throughout all of your writing. Like, I noticed it in Loaf, I noticed in Case, I noticed in Terminus. Tank is meant to ridicule things, so like I can't really judge the contents of its humor.
Over the top.
Yeah, but like throughout all of this, it's like you have this really dry sense of humor that also just, it feels like it came from like canon. I feel like a lot of your jokes would slot right in to Worm itself. So I just want to ask, like, what is your writing process, and more importantly, like your sense of humor and stuff like that? Like, where does that come from, or is it just something you just innately have?
Well, sense of humor, it tends to be morbid, understated, and based on banter, which is kind of like, I don't know, I know for a fact you haven't heard of these, but there was a set of detective movies filmed in the 30s, and it kind of like shaped a lot of what I was doing, especially with Case. The Thin Man series, based off of a book by Dashiell Hammett. It just like
the what series? I
the
might
Thin
have.
Thin Man. Nick and Nora Charles. It's just these two people, like they're married, they're in love, and they just constantly like snipe at each other essentially, and it's just amazing. And kind of is translated into my writing, because I write around dialogue. I will write the lines that I want to be said, and then I'll just like fill in the action.
You'll describe what's going on all around it, but the central point is this guy is calling that guy a fucking dick. And
Yes.
like that's like the central conceit of it all.
Yeah, like for Case, it's like, you think I'm the Seamerg. I'm not the Seamerg. This should be obvious, tattletale. And like everything else like grew around that. Yeah, and so I fill in the connective tissue, like the stuff that it has to have in order for it to make sense. And then like when it comes to setting descriptions, I'm just like, no, right, I'm done. I'm gonna publish this. So yeah.
That's cool. That's great. I really like that. The fact that like it's more like writing. Is it a script
Screenplay.
when it's like a TV show, like a play?
Yeah,
it doesn't matter what they're actually doing. You just want them to say these snarky things to each other.
yeah, I essentially write screenplays.
Okay.
It's fascinating.
Yeah,
Well, you write screenplays, and you also write certain works that are very much not having words describe the action because you've got pictures describing the action. You've got 2 illustrated worm quests.
Ooh.
Cool, a Rooster Coco Braun quest, and Eric, which is much more recent.
it's an Eric quest.
Eric quest?
Yes.
Award-winning Eric quest.
Technically, yes.
By default, award-winning Eric quest.
Yes, by default. I forgot
Yeah.
how ridiculous the Rooster Coco Broad Quest cover art is.
Oh, it's so good.
It's so good.
Old meme.
It's just old meme, but high quality. Like, this is what you would call a high quality shitpost.
Yes.
100%. Especially because we got that comic of Loss, but it's with Contessa out of this quest.
Yes.
I love that.
Lost Tessa.
I love Lost Tessa so much. I showed it to like one of my 2 IRL friends who've read Worm, and the response was never talk to me ever again.
Appropriate. Definitely appropriate.
So let's talk about Cool. Because I think
yes.
that's A, more popular, and B, we don't really talk about Ward.
Yes. Please don't get me started in public.
I'll leave that to you and Colossal Mistake in the DMs, because
Okay.
apparently that's where you rant about Ward. So
Yes.
let's talk about Cool. What kicked off this idea?
It was Perry and me. I don't remember exactly what it was happening, how exactly it happened, but we were didn't really know each other at the time. We were kind of bouncing off ideas in DMs. I actually probably have them here somewhere.
Oh, we're about to
Frantic scrolling, frantic scrolling.
we're
Yeah,
about to
frantic
see hidden lore, basically.
Yes.
The art's also just so fucking good.
Yeah, I don't know. Just like
Every panel of art is phenomenal.
I know it's insane. Okay, all right. Would you be open to
Yes.
collaboration, an actual one?
Oh, that's
So
from Perry?
that was from me. We were
Oh.
just we were shitposting about Contessa and Cauldron in general. Yeah, she said I'm pretty open to anything that staves off the ceaseless torment of existence.
Mood.
Of course. This is very in character.
I was gonna say that's. I believe this 120%. That's just what Perry sounds like.
Yes.
Followed by the open mouth emoji? No, or was that? That's
No,
a trick.
this was before we had Nitro, so no emoji at all.
Ooh,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The Dark Ages, truly.
Dark Ages.
We shitposted some more, and then I was like, oh shit, Rooster Coca Brown quest. The reader is Rooster. The object is to get rid of as much
This game
as
mucho cred.
as possible. We can throw in a Kool-Aid joke at one point.
Oh my
And Claire's
god.
like, yes, this is the right choice. And yeah, it just kind of
Then you-
spiraled from there.
And then it spiraled
actually-
into this.
And then you made it happen, which I think is the craziest
Yeah,
part.
Yes,
and then it
um,
happened.
And it,
You know, the next
like-
update has been written since July of 2018.
Oh my god.
but
Yeah.
there's just been no art.
Yeah, Perry is...
Perry's
Won't
busy
let me
actually
post.
doing something? Oh.
Yeah, she won't let me post because she's doing something special.
Oh no. Oh
Like-
no. Oh no.
Yeah,
Usually
when
that
it finally
usually
comes out, you guys are going to be so mad. But
Oh,
she's
no.
not going to write it. She's not going to draw anything until after her final project is done. So
Yeah, no, that's absolutely valid.
your career and education is way more important than internet shit posting.
I guess.
I don't know. I've sacrificed.
Actually,
education in
I was
terms
gonna
of
say,
shitposting
actually, now that
before.
I think about it, I don't know now. I don't know now. I'm very staunchly anti-educating myself after all.
Yeah, what your values truly are is reflected in what you actually do and not what you think.
Not what I say.
And I don't value anything but the internet, apparently.
Intense shit posting. That's
Anyway,
all right. So that
in terms of unshitposty things, I mentioned it briefly in the very beginning. It's kind of a weird transition, but you've got a new fic, which I'm actually reading. I've been following every update, which is rare for me nowadays in the Worm fandom, because I don't want to talk about it. But it's called Wire, and it's a Terminator Worm fusion, not crossover, fusion. They're very different.
fusion.
And it's so phenomenal.
I have not read it.
Then I'll talk about it. It's crossed over with specifically like Dark Fate. I think you mentioned.
It's it takes plot elements from Terminator 2.
The best Terminator movie.
Character beats essentially from the Sarah Connor Chronicles, and I'm keeping the Dark Fate bit as a surprise, mostly as a treat for myself. Because I think people are going to get...
You can have a little Dark Fate as a treat.
Yes.
Because you're like one of the 4 people on this planet that like that movie.
Yes.
I didn't watch it. I didn't
either.
watch it. I didn't watch it. I can't judge Dark Fate. I didn't watch it, so I can't say anything about it.
I mean, me neither.
It's a pretty bad movie, not gonna lie. But
just roasted like that.
It's not the movie's fault that it was so harshly abused by people wanting to make a buck off of having Arnold Schwarzenegger in the movie. So I just pretend Arnold doesn't exist. And it's an excellent movie.
Whoa, wait.
Whoa.
Like in real life, Arnold shouldn't exist, or what?
No,
this is important here.
The character.
Okay, the character. Okay. I was gonna say
the narrative warps around it just so that he can be there. When it's
Arnold.
not about the heart of Dark Fate is 3 women coming together to take over the world. I mean, save the world. Save the world.
what? Oh, okay.
Same thing.
So that wasn't a Freudian. Was that a Freudian slip? Was it not? I don't know.
Anyway, next question.
Yeah, I like this fic a lot because it does that thing of like recasting people in this new context. That one of the things that you mentioned you liked about Countess is here, like where you see Teresa shows up in Taylor's class and you're like, oh, she's a Terminator robot. This is chapter 1. It's not a spoiler. But like, then all of a sudden the teacher is also a robot and it's Colin Wallace and you're like, whoa. And it's good and it's very action packed and it's got a lot of those, like that fun time travel logic,
Yeah.
like not like time travel logic as in like a bad thing. I mean, like Taylor's trying to apply logic to time travel.
Yeah, she's trying
and
to
it's
hack.
really fun.
Yeah, she's trying to hack time travel using rationalist logic, and it's just not going to work. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Taylor.
that's what I was gonna say. It reminds me of rationalist fiction, but kind of like as a criticism-ish of it. Like,
Yeah.
especially the most recent chapter where Teresa just reads out messages from her future self. It's like, that's not how time travel works. You can't do that.
Can't do that,
You can't
you
just
idiot.
sit on your ass and like, this isn't Bill and Ted. You can't just
Idiot.
So one thing,
and I like that a lot.
One thing I really think is like a huge flaw in the extended Terminator canon is that it's always John Connor in the future. But there are 6 billion humans, maybe like 2 billion humans after the world ends. And it's always John Connor. He has friends, presumably. He has soldiers, presumably. Like
Barney Calhoun.
yeah, like And I feel like the Undersiders can really like fill that gap in a Worm fusion with Terminator. Because there's stuff that has got to go on, like by the... You can't lead the resistance without resistors, right? So there's like stuff that has to be filled in, and I think the Undersiders can fill that gap. So.
Yeah, I like how you described them in one chapter as like, I hope my dad would understand that these are my lieutenants, even though right now they were just my friends who I committed armed robbery with.
Yes.
Like, it's a great line. There's all sorts of these like scattered throughout your works, which is very good.
Very good.
Thumbs up.
One of those lines that I really liked was actually, is it the most recent chapter of Terminus or the one before that? I don't remember, because it's been a while. Terminus. Let's talk about Terminus, because I want to do that. First of all, completely forgot this. I just loaded up the Terminus thread. That fucking cover art is great.
It is.
Great.
And
Numberman's ass, 10 out of 10, right there.
So, El Suervo was like showing me progress pictures, and I didn't notice that Numberman is not wearing pants. And then I showed it to Perry, and she's like, tell him to put a back pocket so that you know that he's wearing pants. Like, oh, well, I don't want to do that. Just don't tell El Suervo that he forgot to put pants on Numberman. Meanwhile, El Suervo and Perry were PMing each other about how they were, like, tricking me into accepting Numberman art without pants.
Without pants? I mean, it's canon. It's canon. Numberman does not... He's just... Not under there. Can't contain that. You can't contain it. You can't contain it.
The line is, he was wearing only a shirt and glasses.
Yeah, it's like... I know it annoys the piss out of Wildbow, but... I also have the thing where I don't actually describe characters or settings, so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to exploit this.
I'm really bad at that too, just description in general.
Yeah.
Is it? Wait, do you never once confirm him wearing pants in your fic?
I don't think so. Oh, you know what? I do. And that was like in deliberate response to Worm, because I noticed that he didn't wear pants. I was like, okay, this is ridiculous.
You're gonna mention that there are pants on this man's
this is in 2017 before the meme was a thing.
Yeah, well, I kind of forced it. And then, like, I'm the next arc, which I already have partially written, is from Citrine's perspective, and there's, like, extended description fucking of Numberman, and unfortunately that includes his pants.
I was just hoping it's just, you know...
So sad.
Is it just like paragraphs of describing a baseball bat, like being tightly wrapped by fabric? Is that all it is? Paragraph after paragraph, just different.
Numberman was like a tripod.
you know,
I admit,
like a long can of Red Bull hanging there, you know.
You know, I thought it was just a throwaway joke in Loaf. It was like a nice tribute to a guy who has absolutely no concept of toxic masculinity because he doesn't understand that masculinity is a thing. He probably thinks this is a delusion like clothes and money and friendship. And it's like, you know what? This is a guy who just deserves...
He gives zero shits.
He just deserves, like, something nice. And then, like, it just spiraled out of control once people finally noticed.
I don't know. I really like the running gag. I really like the meme. Like,
yeah,
I think it's really funny.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh my god, that's
Never
great.
Gets old.
Never gets old. Terminus. That's what I want to talk about. I still want to talk a little bit more about Terminus because it is an alternate universe divergence from one of my favorite points in the story. It's in Story of Worm itself. Like if I had to rank my favorite arcs, it would be arc 20, arc 11, and like arc 21 and 22.
Yeah.
And this diverges right around Cell, which is when Taylor murders Tag. Except this time, she didn't get away with murdering both Tag and Alexandria. She is actually just, you know, going to the birdcage because she's committed open fucking murder and treason.
Yes.
But instead of that, Cauldron decides, hey, you're good at this whole getting the shit done thing. and you don't let pesky little things like morals or human rights get in the way of that.
Oh,
That's the kind of forward thinking. That's kind of forward thinking this conspiracy needs.
yes.
So Taylor gets picked up by Cauldron in this fic, and she is put to work, basically putting a bunch of other contingency plans in motion. So my question, as always, is what spawned the idea for this fic?
So, first of all, Alexandria is the best, and she didn't deserve to die. Actually, I think it was this. Actually, it was a word of God by Wildbow that said Cauldron would have recruited her if Alexandria's plan had succeeded.
Had worked.
Yes. And I was like, well, I want that. That's great.
I want to see that.
There was a dead fic called On Her...
Oh, on Her Majesty's... something like that. On Her matriarch... Yeah. Oh, God.
Secret, I think it's on the Matriarch's Secret Service, like, referring to Dr. Mother. And it was,
that's what it's called.
Dead. And I was sad it was dead. And I also thought, I can do this better. So I started it. Without... And I have, like, an outline. But...
Of, like, the whole thing.
Yeah. It's a ridiculously ambitious project I'm never going to finish. But
hey, don't say that. Please don't say that.
I
want to see this.
The plan involves 50 arcs, and you can see it's taking me like 3 years to write. Almost, not even 6. Yeah.
50 arcs or 15?
50.
Jesus. That is a lot of arcs.
Yeah, I could probably cut it down, but I have a timeline.
I mean, is each arc like worm length or like?
Each arc is 5 chapters plus an interlude.
Okay, I mean that's not like the worst.
No, I think I think like if it actually all worked out, it would be 300,000 words, and there are fics that are like
way beyond that.
Yeah, like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah. Okay.
I've read
300K is a lot, but it's not like I heard 50 arcs and I thought like 5/3 of the length of work.
That one Russian fic where it's like 5 million words or whatever it was.
Like, who has time to read it? I don't understand.
Let alone write that thing. I mean, it's Russia, so maybe you just don't have anything to do there.
I mean, if you go outside, the bears will get you.
Yeah. Maybe stay inside, the vodka will get you.
Too many jokes. Okay, never mind. You know what? Fuck it. That's where we're going now. If you get disappeared and it turns out Putin's involved, I'm not going to be standing by your defense. Because I'm not the one who made any jokes.
Russian agents are going to fucking kick down my door. No. The Russians won't get me. The CCP will get me first. Let's be honest.
Finally, the Chinese...
Speaking of the CCP, whoa, wait a second. Speaking of the CCP, I actually did not intend this. Let's talk about Tank.
About Tank.
Ah, yes.
The only thing I can say about Tank is that I read it, and I haven't stopped laughing.
I thought you were going to end with just, I read it.
I read it, and, I really have not stopped laughing. So, how to describe Tank?
It's a 10,000 word shit post.
Essentially, yeah. But it's also, you used, genuine Maoist philosophy and writing. You quoted that shit.
Yeah, it is. And I don't put all of it in quotation marks. Okay, this was my major in college, basically, and Tank is the only thing I've used it for.
I think I saw that earlier. I think you said it was your major is Chinese studies?
Chinese history.
It's Chinese history, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you know more about it than I do, and I was born in that country, so...
Wait, is it Chinese history or East Asian studies?
Okay, it's East Asian studies, but, nobody understands what I mean when I say that, so I just say Chinese history. It's more or less true.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, I think Mao had some very insightful things to say.
I really want to show the cover art of Tank to my grandpa and see what he said.
I love different
I want to like print that out and just like give it to him. It's like, what do you think of this picture right here?
So modeled off of a Soviet propaganda picture. I found what I wanted. I showed it to Perry, and she went and drew the Numberman dong art instead, like the first, like the infamous one. And then later on, she like went back and like actually drew the tank cover art.
Do you mean the one where it's just like a Coke can? Like,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not a Coke can so much as like. I actually.
Are you gonna really try and describe Numberman's penis?
Just
hanging there. It's just there.
Why?
Welcome to EMBOAR, the penis euphemism episode.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about genitalia dick destroyer. Now we're talking about art of Numberman's big cock. Like, we're never gonna get away from this.
No, this joke will. I will make sure this joke never dies. I hope you know that.
I think Perry will ensure that there's a constant flow of fresh material.
Number dick.
I'm not gonna go where. I'm not gonna say where my mind went there. Here.
Okay, so I guess we didn't really have much to say about Tank because I
have something to say.
Okay.
So Tank is not only like, you know, talking about politics for the sake of talking about it. It's usually for the sake of analyzing the fandom.
Yes.
Like, I took a little screenshot of this one Cauldron interlude, chapter 2, which is just so on the nose about how the fandom treats Cauldron, and then it like goes on to make fun of other fandom tropes. Wasn't this like, it's a great fic because people fell for it, I think.
Yes, they did. Like, okay, I didn't expect this because I thought it was like super obvious that it was a shitpost. But
I mean, were there people that didn't think this was a ship? Okay, I don't read comments. Were there people who generally didn't think this was a shitpost?
I mean, there are people who got angry at fan service because they thought that people were being like mean to each other when it was Chartic saying, "Thanks, this is the worst thing I'll ever do." Like,
Chartic is right when it comes to fan
and they had to get
service.
a thread banner on it that says, "This is performance art. Please stop reporting it." And then people got really angry that they called it performance art.
Oh my god! I didn't know that people took Tank seriously. I didn't know.
Anyway.
Oh man. Okay.
Yeah, I like Tank.
Tank.
A lot.
If you read it, please don't consider it a shitpost.
If you read Tank, please take it at face value and completely seriously.
Yes, 100%.
And then leave a comment. Not on Space Battles because the thread is locked, but DM Rune personally. And argue political philosophy with her.
Please don't.
That's what you should.
Rude's gonna murder you now.
Yeah, that was also a joke.
Yeah.
All right.
People have actually done that. Please do not do that. I'm just going to block you.
Don't randomly DM people with political commentary, guys. Like,
oh my god. Why does it happen?
Belongs.
Like, I don't understand. Just stop. I'm not going to debate you, dude. Get out of my DMs.
Why won't Rune sort of debate me?
All right.
Why would she debate me?
All right, Rune, I have one more shitpost / question for you before we're gonna wrap the show. So Rune, when is Vicky gonna kill Sophia?
Victoria.
So I think you can guess which fic I want to talk about before we wrap
Warp.
up. Yes.
Warp.
Let's talk about Warp.
So there is now like a subplot that I'm going to maintain, in which Victoria and Sophia work together.
like they're not gonna like. It's like they're just gonna like basically become friends. Is that how that's gonna work?
It can't work with how the characters are set up, but they're definitely gonna work together. And it's nobody's
is it 100? Is it 100% because of that one comment?
Yes, and I think that person's actually banned from Space Battles now. But
that's even more amazing.
So we're allowed to say this?
Yeah, I don't remember who it was actually.
Neither do I. But so for people who don't know, that was a complicated and long bit. I'm apologizing. Warp is a Victoria Dallin Peggy Sue. I don't know from what point in Ward she actually goes back to Worm, because I don't remember.
The end of Arc 9, but, like, I deleted, like, the first, like, 8 arcs of Ward from existence. So it's really just... it's really just Victoria, like, having a chance of a do-over, essentially. I love Victoria. I love Ashley. I love... I'm sure there's something else from Ward that I love. I like Citrian.
You love the font that's on the Word website?
Look! Okay, I don't know what it is about the font. I couldn't stand it. I read 2 arcs of Ward. I'm just like, this font is hurting my fucking eyes. I'm so sick of it. I'm not reading Ward. And then I just stopped. Okay?
Oh my god.
I can't explain to you why. I don't understand why myself, but I'm not the only one. I am not the only one. One of my friends in real life who's read Worm said the same thing about Ward, because we both started Ward together, and then I was like, I hate this font, and he's like, yo, dude, same.
That is one I haven't heard
the
before.
only one.
You haven't heard my fucking dumbest why I hold the dumbest reasoning for why I haven't read Ward, like, in the fandom.
I actually think that you got out while the getting out was good.
That's what everyone tells me, and now I'm just sad. Like, I wanted Ward to be good. I was gonna wait.
We all did.
I was gonna wait for it to, like, I was gonna, like, get to a point where I'm just gonna suck it up and just read the whole damn thing. But then, like, everyone else is just like, dude, don't. Like,
Yeah.
Don't do it. It's not worth it, man. I'm just like, I'm sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was also what I was going to do. I tried reading it, like, as it was coming out, and I was really excited for, like, the first couple arcs. I was like, yeah, this is great. I'm so excited all the time. And then I just stopped, and I'm like, I'm going to read it when it's done. And then all of a sudden, everyone was like,
don't read this. It's
no.
garbage. I'm just like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I still have one friend who's super into it, and it's just him.
Nice.
He's the only one who's like, oh my god.
It's so good.
Oh my god. You have to. It's like, oh.
It's like a fine wine. You have to do it. You have to.
You gotta.
That's about all I have in terms of...
I think we should end on a more positive note than, like, Ward.
That Ward sucks. Okay.
Yeah. Let's talk about what do you have any final recs for a little rec corner?
This is the last part of our podcast. Some quick shills. What are some fics that you think people should be reading and everyone should be enjoying and deserves all the praise in the world? Go.
Well, we talked about the Countess already, which is, like, something I'm obsessed with. I am going to shill... Well, okay, I failed to nominate him for any of the Cauldron Awards, which makes me very sad. I'm going to shill Man Magnificent's work, all of it, but I especially like Aspects, which is
Yes.
Harry Potter, Taylor, Blake and Rose, Sylvester. They all get Peggy sued, and they all come back to Hogwarts, essentially, with their adult memories intact. And they come back with their nemesis. So Sylvester has Frey, and possibly some other people I don't think we know. Taylor has Coil. We know Voldemort's running around somewhere, too. And Rose and Blake, as well as Evan and Green Eyes, and I think Magnificent really likes Pact. So, like, that entire crowd, you really should. That entire crowd brings the abyss and, like, Pact's extremely, like, vicious, dangerous, magical system into Hogwarts.
Damn.
And I
that's gonna go on my list. I'm just gonna read Pact. I should do that so I can read.
I avoided reading Pact for like a year. After I like got back into Worm, because Wild was like, he like kind of like talked it down, and so I was like, well, he doesn't like it, so I'm gonna trust him. never make that mistake.
No!
He doesn't get to talk about Pact, because Pact is fantastic. The magic system is quote unquote soft, and it's based on your ability to rules lawyer and bullshit your way through.
Oh, there's only 16 arcs. That's not long at all.
It's not long, and people complain
Look at
about
all
the pacing. Just take it slow, take breaks. It's so good.
Yeah,
Okay.
I read it shortly after reading Worm, and I got wild bowed out, and I had to drop it, and someday I want to pick it back up.
Yeah,
I
think
read-
it's worth it.
I mean, I haven't read Pact and I haven't read Twig simply because I only read Worm because it was about superheroes.
Yeah.
I for some people who don't know,
It's-
I'm really fucking into superheroes, like
What?
really into superheroes.
What?
What? I know, right? I don't know. Like, some guy who's into superheroes is in a fucking fandom with about superheroes. Who would have fucking thunk it? So I put off Twig and I put off Pact because I'm just like, they don't put on spandex and punch buildings. I'm not as interested. But I'll read Pact. I should go read Pact.
Yeah, Pact is good, and Mad Magnificent is also writing Aspects, which is Taylor gets killed by Miss Militia during Cell.
It's not Aspects. That's
Sorry, Familiar.
Familiar
Yes.
or something.
And she
Is
gets.
it called Familiar?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
I love Familiar. It's so good.
yeah,
It's like the only Pact fic out there.
yeah. Essentially, I think he's basically responsible for all the Pact fic. You can tell, like, he gets the system too. I have immense respect for that because I really enjoy the system, but I couldn't write any of that. I couldn't figure it out and like make it consistently good and consistently believable.
I think the two Mad Magnificent fics I've read is Reprieve and Truant. And I've had I think I've talked about Reprieve and, like, in my opinion, what the failings of it are. But in the end, I still enjoyed what I read of it. I think I stopped following it after a while because I have the attention
Yeah, I think I
span
followed it.
of a fucking squirrel on crack.
I might have followed it for a lot longer than you.
I think you followed for longer than me because I didn't even get to when the actual Avengers showed up. I've heard that was a thing.
Oh, that's barely a thing still. It's like just Iron Man.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and then I'll read Truants,
But like,
and then that's
it's
about it.
very into the low level world of the TV shows and very into like comics villains, and
Which I think...
that's a good or a bad thing. I like it because it's a very cohesive real world.
Yeah, I like
And I
that.
think that's
I
great
like that more than
because
talking about
they
the Avengers.
they turned the MCU into a real place where I feel like people can live, and that's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's amazing. There's this one scene early on where Taylor like gets flashbacks to Scion or to Leviathan, and like has a panic attack on the street, and someone helps her because in New York they went through the Battle of New York, and everyone's like more aware of like that kind of response. That's wonderful. That's like the kind of shit I live for. And then
That's the
it gets
good
bogged
shit.
down in the hand, and I'm like, what? I don't care.
We're still putting this onto the spreadsheet, though, right?
Oh yeah, no,
Okay.
for sure, it's great.
Okay.
Try reading it. You might get further than I did. I still like it.
You might get further
I'm
than I
not
did,
gonna say
too.
it's bad.
I'm not gonna say it's bad. I'm
I'll
not gonna
take
say it's amazing.
Yeah, this is just the Mad Magnificent episode. Now.
Oh, Ash, you have any quick chills?
Yeah, I do. It's Data.
Oh boy,
The Revival of the Century. Data
by
by A.J. Gorgon, Frustrated Freebuddha. They were on our show.
they I shot the shit with them for a little over an hour.
Yeah.
That's on YouTube
If you
too.
haven't seen it, they're in the YouTube playlist for EMBOAR, which is linked at the top of the featured fix list. So wherever you're listening to this, you can get to it.
Yeah.
You'll be able to see a full episode of EMBOAR. It's just Mank and Gorgon talking about movies. The episode is called 2038, Let Me Go to Sleep Jetty, and I count it as canon.
Okay.
So,
Any more quick chills from anyone?
I think I'm contractually obligated to mention my fiance's work. Read
I
Life
think-
Bends
I think
Down.
so. I was waiting for that the whole
Me
episode.
too, actually.
Yeah. the LBD cops, whatever that means, they're gonna show
LB, you
up.
guys are gonna show up. I salute you.
yeah.
User Seer in the fog. The LBD cops are gonna
Sorry,
descend upon us.
the FBI is knocking on my door, not because I'm a pedophile, but because it's not a wormfic.
Oh no. We're gonna have a whole separate episode with Perry, hopefully, eventually.
Eventually, maybe
That would be
that'd be
good.
fun. It'd be a lot of shitpost.
I think there would be a lot
I
of
need to
discussion
read
on
LBD.
it, man.
Ooh. All right. My shill for this episode is Final Fantasy 14, and just like that, we're gonna end this.
Oh no! Wait! Animal Crossing New Horizons. Hold on. I'm gonna end this episode by saying, well, this was fun, but I gotta get back to playing Animal Crossing New Horizons on my Nintendo Switch. And then, just like Reggie, I enter my house and turn around and leave forever. Thank you so much for listening.
Oh no.